Good evening and welcome to the Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhavdas G. Viewers, the Modi government's bill on women's reservation failed the parliament test today, as the government could not muster the numbers needed to push through the three critical bills to ensure women's reservation in the 2029 Lok Sabha elections. A total of 528 MPs had cast their votes earlier this evening, of which, in fact, the NDA would have required at least 352 votes in favor of the motion to have the bill passed. However, the NDA could only have the strength of 293 in the Lok Sabha and managed to get 298 votes in total. In fact, falling well short of the 352 required to have the bill passed. A female NDA MP soon staged a protest outside the Makar Dwar of the parliament, calling this a historic betrayal of the women of the country. Here's what happened. Ahead of the vote, Home Minister Amit Shah accused the opposition of betraying women voters of the country and pitting the North against the South in the name of delimitation. The Home Minister further accused the opposition of finding excuses to oppose the bill and stall the historic women empowerment push. Further, the government says that it will make the entire country realize the mistake the opposition has committed in stalling the women's quota bill.
अगर इस बिल का विरोध करने का कारण 50% लिखित में चाहिए तो 1 घंटा सदन बंद कर दिए, मैं ऑफिशियल अमेंडमेंट लेकर आता हूं मान्यवर, मगर बिल पारित करने का वो वादा करते। अब वेणुगोपाल जी बताएं, क्या बिल पारित करेंगे? ओबीसी का सबसे बड़ा कोई विरोधी पार्टी है तो मैं बिल्कुल कंफ्यूजन के बगैर कह सकता हूं कांग्रेस पार्टी है। 1980 में इंदिरा जी आई, मंडल आयोग का सुझाव आया और मंडल आयोग के सुझाव को इंदिरा जी ने ठंडे बस्ते में डाल दिया। 90 में जब बीपी सिंह आए तब वो मंडल आयोग का इंप्लीमेंटेशन लेकर आए और उस वक्त मान्यवर विपक्ष के नेता राजीव गांधी, उन्होंने यहां पर अपने जीवन का सबसे लंबा भाषण मंडल आयोग का विरोध करने में किया, अपने जीवन का सबसे। इन लोगों को कहता हूं, कांग्रेस के मित्रों को विशेष कर कि सिर्फ भाषण में नारे लगाने से इस देश का पिछड़ा वर्ग आपको हितैषी नहीं मानेगा। 1947 से लेकर 2014 तक आप ओबीसी का विरोध करते रहे। जब ओबीसी के बगैर सत्ता नहीं मिलेगी, इसका परिचय आ गया। प्रधानमंत्री भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ओबीसी बनाया, तब आप ओबीसी की माला जप रहे हो। मैं कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि सब सिर्फ महिला आरक्षण विधेयक का विरोध हो रहा है। हमने 370 समाप्त की साहब, उन्होंने विरोध किया। राम मंदिर बनाया, विरोध किया। सीए लाए, विरोध किया। ट्रिपल तलाक समाप्त किया, विरोध किया। जीएसटी लाए, विरोध किया। आयुष्मान भारत बनाया, विरोध किया। नया संसद भवन बनाया, विरोध किया। मत्स्य पालन सहकारिता मंत्रालय बनाया, विरोध किया। सीडीएस बनाया, विरोध किया। 3 तलाक खत्म किया, विरोध किया। नक्सलवाद खत्म किया, विरोध किया। आतंकवाद को सत्ते में डाला, विरोध किया। सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक, विरोध किया। एयर स्ट्राइक, विरोध किया। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर, विरोध। इन्होंने अच्छे बुरे सोचे बगैर नरेंद्र मोदी जी जो कर रहे हैं, इसका विरोध करने का ठान लिया।
देश का महिलाओं को अब सम्मान अधिकार देने का जो बिल है, उसको विपक्ष ने साथ नहीं दिया। बहुत खेद की बात है और इस ऐतिहासिक पल को मौका था, आपने गंवाया है। आदरणीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में महिलाओं को जो सम्मान देने का, अधिकार देने का हमारा अभियान जारी रहेगा और हम अधिकार दे के ही रहेंगे आगे।
This bill has now failed the parliamentary test. So what happens next? Let's take a look at what happens to the Lok Sabha. The strength remains unchanged, but the seat to population ratio remains extremely high. There's also the fact that the 2023 Women's Reservation Act will be enforced and in implementation after the 2027 census and delimitation after that. There's also the aspect of the constitutional amendment not being cleared. So no 33% quota for women in the 2029 elections that is confirmed at the moment. Delimitation will be based on the next census, and based on the new census, the seats of the South will reduce ostensibly. But the government has pinned the blame solely on the opposition for stalling the historic bill. The Prime Minister also highlighted how the entire country is witness to how the India bloc has opposed the women's empowerment push.
देखिए, इसका अगर विरोध करेंगे तो स्वाभाविक है कि राजनीतिक लाभ मुझे होगा, लेकिन साथ चलेंगे तो किसी को भी नहीं होगा, ये लिख के रखो। और इसलिए हमें क्रेडिट नहीं चाहिए।
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us is Shazia Elmi, BJP's national spokesperson. We have also with us Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. Joining us also is Professor Manojit Mandal, political analyst. Harish Mohammad Ibrahim is a political analyst who leans towards the DMK. But let me start first and foremost with Tehseen Poonawala. Tehseen Poonawala, you have a situation where the government is today saying that the opposition parties such as Congress and others talk a lot about women's empowerment, but when it comes to acting, have failed the women of the country. And it's quite clear that they're going to take this message across the country. How they do that, the BJP is yet to announce it, but that's certainly something that they're going to be taking to the people of the country. Tehseen, how do you answer that?
Good evening, Madhav. Thank you so much for having me on the show. At the onset, today is an unfortunate day. Women in our country could have got reservation. They could have got reservation right away if on 543 we would have given 33% reservation. The government was not serious about bringing in the women's reservation, and I'll give you 4 points and I'll quickly be very brief. Number one, they were bringing in an amendment got in the constitution in September 2023. But guess what? They'd forgotten to notify it, and Times now broke the story that late last night they notified the law, the bill passed in September 2023, when already they'd got an amendment to the bill, but they'd not notified it. This is how serious the government was about women's empowerment. Number two, since day before I've been saying that where is the 50% guarantee, which the Honorable Home Minister very graciously today said, give me 1 hour, I will go and do it. You brought in a bill, you are claiming with 50%, Arjun Megwalji and Home Minister, you've not put it in the law, and then at the time of voting, you say, give me 1 hour to go about and do it. That's how serious they were. The third part to it, the government's claim was, look, we can't do this on 543, we got to do it on a larger number because the population is increased. That's a fair point. Then they say to look at that number, we got to look at the 2011 census. That's a fair point. The women's reservation comes into play as per this government in 2029. That's also a fair point. So if the women's reservations coming into play in 2029, the other two bills were delimitation and a census for 2026, 2027 for 2029. So give the reservation based on 2026, 2027. Why go back to 2011? Again, the government was trying to be clever by half. The opposition got them out. And I'm telling you, except for whataboutery on this show, the BJP spokesperson will not give one direct answer. One direct answer.
Okay, Shazia, let me answer the point. If there was a law passed in 2023, why was it notified last night after the amendments were introduced in Parliament? Let's go one by one as far as all these questions are concerned. Why was the notification brought last night?
First of all, it's a black day for all women. And I think Congress party, for all its talk of women empowerment and ladki ho lad sakti ho, has let down women once again. It happened in 85 when Muslim women were thrown in the abyss of despair. And it's happened yet again to all women, all sisters, who are really looking forward to finally getting their place under the sun. So it is very unfortunate. And none of the points that Tehseen made make any sense at all, because the writing was on the wall for everybody to see. And it was very obvious that they wanted to cut their nose to spite their face, which is exactly what the southern states did. first this was used, and senior leaders like Chidambaram and all wrote about the North-South divide. And finally, when they realized that this is the best deal ever, the 50% formula would give them ever, either by the 2011 census or by the 2027 speculated or projected population, this was the best ever thing. So not only did the southern states let themselves down, but also their own women and men, because finally they were left with far lesser seats, which will continue to be as per delimitation, which is anyway underway.
No, we'll come to the southern point. He's asked you one specific question on the notification. If an amendment is brought in, the opposition is saying the notification should have happened much earlier. Why is it 3 years late? Does this show a lack of seriousness? Is the question they are asking.
No, that's a fair question. You know, notification should have happened earlier, but the notification did happen, even if it is at the last hour. So nobody can say that this would not be even untenable. There is no untenability factor, even if the notification was done at the last minute for today's bill, or that was being disputed or talked about, and the bill that fell in the parliament. But going beyond that, you know, why 543? Tehseen himself says very clearly that, population has increased. And, 543 went according to 71 census, 54 crores. And what is the population now? Almost 144 crores. So anyway, just to fix that there's a delimitation underway. Now, what does a delimitation do? Tell me. Delimitation does two things. Delimitation draws the boundaries, redraws as per the population. So people of the constituency have access to the MP, and the MP reflects the will of the people and does the bidding, which is very unfair for those constituencies which are large in numbers and unwieldy. And it's not fair on their constituents, which is why it could not have been done.
But the government said it's ready to accept 50%. So that differentiation would have been there between the southern states and the northern states.
Exactly.
So northern states would have continued to have huge unwieldy constituencies in terms of population.
When Amit Shah actually said, and you know what was the harm? When he said, I will do it. Ji sir, main kar dunga. Amit Shah said it very humbly, but very clearly that yes, are you with it? And Venugopal was quiet. We all saw what happened in the parliament. So why didn't they agree to that? Because they did not want this. And they did not want BJP to get the credit. The fact of the matter is that they have failed. They have totally failed. And it's so sad because women of this country...
to be fair, he was not quiet. He put forth two conditions, that there should be a delinking and that it should come in writing. But let me bring in Harish Mohammed Ibrahim. Harish Mohammed Ibrahim, the biggest problem for southern states and parties like yours has been that there's an injustice to the south. That's the narrative that Mr. Stalin has been putting forth for the last few days. But the question is, if there was a chance to get it in writing from the side of the government, and the Home Minister said, let's stall Parliament, adjourn it for an hour, and I'll give it to you in writing. I'll bring in that amendment. Why did the opposition not take up that chance?
No, we have already knew what the BJP's malified intentions is all about by intertwining both the delimitations along with the Women's Reservation Bill, which has been active from the April 2026. The intentions are clearly visible to make sure the women empowerment should be done in a proper fashion. They should have done, even now they have a chance with the 543 seats. If they want 33% to be given to all the women across the country, they can do it, fair enough. But by intertwining with the 2011 census and making sure the North versus South debate flags up by shrinking all the seats, including Tamil Nadu, if we get 7.18% with the latest proportion, we will be getting lesser seats when compared to the Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, which was not being done enough service to the Indian democracy by controlling the population, where the southern state have done reasonably well when it comes to 2011 census. But having said that, whether this is going to be a historic day for the Indian democracy, all the brutal force, all the arrogance of the BJP have been decimated by one man from the south, Mr. Muthuvel Karunanidhi Stalin. His protest of this demolition of all these kind of demoralizing of Indian democracy has been set aside.
Demoralizing of Indian democracy? How is it demoralizing of Indian democracy?
Of course, by intertwining one of the most important bill which has been there in the parliament for more than 3 decades for their hidden agenda of intertwining along with this delimitation will make sure to put across...
So what do they gain by this hidden agenda? Please tell me.
Of course, they have a proper hidden agenda of bringing the West Bengal election and Tamil Nadu election, the Kerala elections as a talking point by saying that they have been there behind the women empowerment. But that is not the intention. The BJP will never, ever, in their, even for a single second, will think for this citizen of this country. And it has been exposed once again with this bill, once again. And it has been exposed only by
timing of this is highly political. Subrashta, respond to Harish Mohammed Ibrahim. It was tied up with these elections. Polling is due, and he's right. He's right to the extent that polling is due next week in Tamil Nadu as well as West Bengal. In fact, 2 phases in West Bengal in which election has to take place. Is this all timed, politically speaking? Subrashta.
So, yes, I would answer Mr. Ibrahim if he answers me one question. What time, according to Mr. Ibrahim, suits the best in Indian politics where there are no elections around the corner? Neither municipal, nor local, nor state level, nor national. Please, Mr. Ibrahim, tell me that date, that time, that month, that period where we should introduce bills in the parliament that substantively deal with issues and that have been lingering on for so long, so that nobody gains any political mileage out of it.
Madam,
I hope Mr. Ibrahim answers this.
Yes, of course. The BJP is there in the ruling government for almost 12 years. How does this is the right time by intertwining both the delimitations?
No, Mr. Ibrahim, I think you misunderstood the question, or perhaps you don't understand English. Let me rephrase the question, Mr. Ibrahim.
Let me come to you.
Mr. Ibrahim, I asked a very simple question. Tell me the year, the date, and the month, and give me that range within which interesting resolutions should be brought in the parliament, interesting bills should be tabled in the parliament, so that nobody gains any political mileage out of it.
Allow me to answer.
If you do not allow me that, allow me an answer of a range, then please allow me to make my substantive point. Do you have a range, sir, or do you not?
We have
because
an
as far as
exact
my
range,
knowledge goes, every month in India we have some election or the other, Madhav. So to bring this conversation is to basically move away from the moot question, which is that this country, because of lack of political will on part of every political party, major bills, major issues have been lingering on for quite some time. It takes a certain kind of government to push agendas that go beyond politics to talk about larger national interests. Now let me look at this, this particular conversation that we have. Every regional party today and every opposition party today, Congress being, the principal opposition, they're all claiming credits to the women question as if they have done some absolutely revolutionary things within their internal party system. We have seen women politicians leave the Congress party, become MPs, represent in the Rajya Sabha, those who raised issues about anti-women agendas, issues and behavior in the Congress party.
That's a relevant point. Right? You can bring that up with Tehseen in just a moment. Let me quickly bring in Professor Manojit Mandal, because you raised the issue and you believe that there is no good time, because at every point of time, Professor Mandal answers Subrashta's question, statement where she says there's always an election happening. Either a municipal election or an assembly election or a Lok Sabha election, it's always, every action at the central level can be linked to some election somewhere. Do you think that's a fair argument?
BJP as a ruling party and its uncharitable behavior towards the opposition is quite evident, clearly evident in a number of occasions. Despite that, 7 days before the elections happening in Bengal and Tamil Nadu, the TMC sent its maximum number of member of parliaments today. Despite the fact that they were in the middle of the hard campaigns, they sent maximum number of the parliamentarians, showing the intent. And they clearly stated that bring the bill, 543, 1/3, every third seat should be reserved for women. We are going to support it. Even tomorrow, call a special session. And for the kind information of the previous speaker, just during the middle of the election, you do not call a special session of the parliament. Show me the instance of that. Special session of the parliament and linking it to your own benefit, the delimitation. Whatever has happened, I also want an instance. During the election is happening and then you are calling a special session. And that too, please hang on. That too, you are linking it to your own benefits of delimitation. Delink it. Delink it the way it was in 2009 and 10 when it was passed in the Rajya Sabha.
No, but Manojit Mandal, why are you saying it benefits them? Delimitation happens across the country for all states, right? One second, I'll just come one by one. There's a specific question I have Subrashta to answer as well.
Hang on.
But Manojit Mandal, why do you say this delimitation will benefit only BJP?
Yes. Because, I'll answer this question. But before that, why did you link it to the women's issue? Does it mean that without delimitation, the women doesn't have
Sir,
the right?
answer my question. You've also raised several questions.
They should be given the right first.
Maybe so, but let's answer. How are you saying delimitation benefits only BJP? Please answer that. I've asked you a direct question.
BJP is, even the Prime Minister yesterday talked about proportional representation. There is no blanket 50% increase of the seats. There is nowhere in the...
Amit Shah said, I'm ready to give a notification and amendment in writing today.
All of us have read the bill.
No, he said today. Did you hear the debate? Before it went to vote, he said, I'm ready to give it in writing.
It should have. Then again, hang on. We are saying, do it now. You do not need delimitation for the rights of the women at all. Why did you need it? I want to understand this first. Why did you link it in the first place? Does it mean that without delimitation, the women cannot be given their right?
Okay, Shazia, answer that question.
How many members of women...
Why link it in the first place? Shazia, and then I'm going to come to Subrashta as well. Yeah.
Delimitation is anyway underway. It is going to happen. But the way delimitation happens, if you read Article 81 and 82, you would realize it is as per the census that would be doing its work and getting the findings. So, in fact, this would actually take away the rights of the southern state, and they would be penalized for doing actually good by the population measures, population control measures. In fact, 50% across the board would have ensured a complete similar proportional representation of the states as it is. So this was why it was being done. And the very fact that there are only 543 seats and India has grown huge, 3 times more, needs that every man, or I should say woman, one vote and one value.
Okay, there's some breaking news coming in. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin just put out on social media platform X, and I'm reading out his post. He says, we want the Women's Reservation Bill to be implemented now. Our concern is with delimitation, which requires careful thought to ensure it's fair, especially for southern states. NDA could have delinked it. They chose not to. They could have used this time to consult states on delimitation. They chose not to. This is not justice. This is not intent. This is optics. Women in Tamil Nadu see through this. Subrashta, would you like to respond to that? Because that seems to reflect what even Manojit Mandal is saying. Why link the two and why not adequate consultation? And an additional question that he has asked is just give us instances of when Parliament has been in session, has enacted laws when assembly polls are going on. That's a point. 2 pointed questions coming your way. Subrashta.
Yes, so first of all, let me put it out that neither Professor Mandal nor Mr. Ibrahim answered gave me a specific range within which bills should be tabled in the parliament so that no political party gets a mileage. That's point number 1. Point number 2, this whole question of why delimitation is being linked to the women's issue. In fact, I'll flip around the question and tell them, since delimitation and women's issues, none of them should be linked together. So clearly TMC as a party is really observant about women issues, committed to women issues. Why don't women leaders in the TMC have say over who gets what ticket? Why is it concentrated in the hands of very few and preferably men? That's also a question which I would want to ask. As I said, Madhav, it is as though the entire opposition is holier than thou, and as if they have given women all kinds of power.
Professor Mandal.
I mean, she doesn't know that the TMC is headed by a woman. And she's the only chief minister for the 3rd time, going to be the 4th time chief minister. Hang on, please have some sense, debate, madam. Please have some sense, debate, madam. I mean, what is this? Madam, please.
Okay, yeah. Subrashta, you've asked him a question. Let him answer your question, please.
Now come to the point that 43% of the women from TMC member of parliamentarians, you have 43%. 11 out of 29 are elected. And in BJP, only 12%. 31 out of 240. 31. That's the kind of hypocrisy that BJP is practicing in this country for the last 10 years or so. We do not need any lesson from you on women empowerment. The problem, I repeat again, Madhav, why did you link it with the delimitation? Does it mean that without delimitation, the women cannot be given rights? This has been there for the last 3 decades, mind you.
Okay, let me put one question to Tehseen Poonawala. Tehseen, you know, Mr. K.C. Venugopal had a chance to get that written amendment of 50%. The biggest concern we were hearing for last 48 hours is that there's nothing in the draft in writing. If the Home Minister offered to do that, Mr. K.C. Venugopal then said, no, we not only want this, we also want the delinking. If you had perhaps accepted it in Parliament, we would have had that draft.
Yes. Yes, I would like to answer that question because that was the 4th point I raised to the BJP spokesperson. She conceded to my first. She hasn't answered the other 3. But before that, may I just make one small intervention? Between May 17th, and I would like the viewers of Times Now to check this, fact check me on this, on Grok, on Gemini, anywhere. Between May 17th to May 23rd, there is no state or local elections announced by any election commission of the state of the India anywhere across the length and breadth of the Union of India, including Union territories. You may check that. But what the Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu said was state elections, there's never been a precedent. Let me come to the substantial issue you raised. The substantial issue that you raised, Madhav, is true. Now, if you want to give women reservation, you are linking it to delimitation, the government is, and therefore you're saying we're bringing in the 2011 census. Perfect. The 2011 census also includes the caste census data. You don't want to release it. Let that be. Now, the 2 other bills are, you want to do a census in 2026, delimitation in 2027, and keep it ready for 2029, along with the women's reservation date. So if you're giving women's reservation in 2029, based on delimitation and census, do it with the 2026. Why are you going to the 2011 when you are going to do 2026 and 2027?
Okay,
that is a commitment you made.
All right, I don't think I've got an answer to the question that I posed, but I'm completely out of time. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you there. Shazia Ilmi, Subrashta, Tehseen Poonawala, Professor Monajit Mandal, Harish Mohammed Ibrahim, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. For what's going to be the political fallout? As Professor Mandal says, this has not happened, perhaps unprecedented, that is happening during the course of the polls. Will the campaign be impacted by this? Will the issues arising out of this special session of Parliament reflect in the politics of the states that are headed to the polls? That's going to be the big one to watch out for. Thanks so much for joining us on this. And in fact, in a short while from now, we're going to be playing out for you a conversation that I had with noted economist Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, who've also, it's been a very, very important day from the point of diplomacy, with the Strait of Hormuz being opened by Iran. The United States, though, has said that as far as they are concerned, they will be curbing Iranian ships from actually traversing the Strait of Hormuz until the deal and the ceasefire is 100% done. Listen into this conversation.